talk about hedgehogs? Come on through then. I first came across hedgehogs really as a little girl. My nan used to take me on these nature walks and she'd always, well, she made them into mythical creatures really. We was always look for the hedgehogs, look for the hedgehogs. So I've always had a fascination just from being a little girl. About 15 years I've been on the lookout for them, looking out for injured hedgehogs. Obviously if we see them out during the day, my first hedgehog, it was actually tiny and I picked it up and put it in a hessian sack and brought it home. My friend and colleague Wendy, she came round and helped me weigh him and he was severely underweight, really dehydrated, bless him. So we fed him up, we fattened him up and he liked his food that much that he didn't hibernate that winter. So we're just driving to Wendy's house. She looks after hedgehogs on a much larger scale than me, can have up to 20 hibernating at a time. She worms them, she defleas them and deticks them all herself. Wendy's always successful at bringing hedgehogs back into the wild. So often when Wendy goes away, I can look after the hedgehogs. I babysit them. We have them in large plastic containers. They eat mealworms, dried cat food and they must have plenty of water.
I've been looking after hedgehogs for quite a few years now, feeding the ones that are in the garden, and because I was feeding the ones that are visiting the garden, I looked into the hedgehog population and why we're getting hedgehogs in the garden, and I realised that hedgehogs were on decline. Hedgehogs are on decline because of people having, well, because of lots of cars on the road and because of people having tidy gardens where they don't have hedgerows and the fences are down to the ground so the hedgehogs can't get through the gardens where hedgehogs need to be able to forage in different areas.
Finding the hedgehogs when they are injured is really, really upsetting because they're just so vulnerable and so small. The worst one I found, his back legs were paralysed, his shoulder, he'd obviously been hit by something or other. His shoulder, he couldn't use his shoulder and unfortunately we had to take him to the vets and have him put down.
If you find a hedgehog out during the day, during the midday when it's hot, that obviously that hedgehog has got some problems. Hedgehogs don't sunbathe, hedgehogs will only be out on an evening when it's light in the summer months. But if hedgehog's out during the day, then you should bring it in, check it over, take it to a rescue centre.
To educate people, and it's usually best to start with children because they'll grow up with that knowledge. Me and Wendy do talks with the brownies and the girl guides, and we've actually taken a couple of hedgehogs to a church hall before in a box and let all the brownies have a stroke, have a handle, because they really are friendly little creatures. They're just like prickly rabbits really. Do you want to come outside and see the feeding stations? They're so cute.
So this is one of my feeding stations. It's quite simple. I just keep some double trays that I put the food into. As I say, these are just a chicken flavoured cat food. Always make sure there's some fresh water. A little tub for them. And my hedgehogs can get in either end. So if one comes in, and another one comes in, one can make a quick escape. This is one of my hedgehog hibernation boxes, which I fill with straw, which I will be doing soon, for the hedgehogs to live in. And if you want to come in here, I'll show you where my hedgehogs are sleeping at the moment. So in here, we have Merry, who came in just before Christmas. So there's his little bowl of food and his water, and he's tucked up, fast asleep, hibernating in there at the moment. Anytime soon he'll be waking up and we'll be getting him out. A hedgehog's heart rate can go down to 4 beats a minute when they're in hibernation, which preserves all their energy. Hedgehogs will come out and take some food and water.
The dangers that they face is like the foxes, urbanisation. Obviously there are hedgerows, there are the towns are getting bigger, they can't get into the gardens. People don't even realise when they're tidying up the gardens they could be disturbing a hedgehog nest because they use leaves, they use twigs, they use sticks, and you know, they're asleep. And the worst time of year for hedgehogs is bonfire night, because they will crawl into a bonfire and hibernate, and then unfortunately people are so unaware that they set fire to the bonfires.
One of the things that most common that hedgehogs get is lungworm, and they get lungworm from eating slugs and snails. I mean, everybody says hedgehogs eat your slugs and snails. They do, but as a last resort, because like dogs, if they eat a slug, it can give them lungworm. The symptoms of lungworm is bad cough. If you bring a hedgehog in, or if you find a hedgehog and it's really, really coughing, this is probably because it's got lungworm. If you want to know more about hedgehogs, you can look up the website Hog Helpers. We'll give you lots of information and lots of advice on how to look after hedgehogs and feed hedgehogs and keep them populated.